Hello and welcome back to Code Cloud and DevOps Ask Me Anything. I got an interesting question. It's a pretty long one, so I'll try as much as possible to read it to you slowly, and I'll try to answer it also as comprehensively as possible. And it goes thus: I'm interested in Azure DevOps only. Specific. I like that kind of question, but of course it goes further to explain, saying I've struggled with programming because it seems as though there are too many languages to learn, and I've been taught wrongly or overtaught. Sincerely, I want to do something outrightly new that will trigger my curiosity. To be honest, I work as a Scrum Master and Product Manager. I have much experience working with devs and DevOps engineers and other cross-functional teams. I understand SDLC properly. I had completed computer science degree with no clarity or orientation on what each programming language helps you become, whether this is good for backend or this is for mobile or for DevOps. I had only known that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for frontend. It's during the Scrum Master and Product Manager role that I found out about node.js, React, React Native, Angular, Typescript, Redux, Git, Bitbucket, CI/CD, AWS Cloud, etc. To cut the long story short, I want to simply be an Azure DevOps engineer. We're proud of that. Thank you. So I think you can help me. How do I get started? Where do I begin? I'm open to learning. And I know I should be doing more with the computer science degree that I have. Not having such high demand skill has really been a challenge. So thanks very much for your question and going deep into the things you actually wanted to achieve and being straightforward. You want to be an Azure DevOps engineer, and the fact that you have had hands-on experience managing projects, working with developers and DevOps engineers and etc. would make your journey a little bit smoother. And the reason I say that is because you've had experience of actually working with Scrum, working with projects, actually seeing how those people work. And I tell a lot of people this: you don't need to learn all about the programming languages, because the languages and frameworks you'll be deploying, essentially, you don't need to go in depth into the core of how they work in totals and all those things. But essentially, the thing you need to learn is how you are able to deploy them, containerize them, and deploy them maybe, or maybe just a little bit of how it's supposed to work on each cloud, the configurations you need to make for them. Now, you'll be responsible for those deployments, but of course, you don't need to know in depth of those programming languages. For example, from day to day, I deploy Angular code. I don't write Angular. I can't write JavaScript to save my life. I can't write TypeScript to save my life. But I can write .NET, but I write PowerShell to be able to deploy other people's code. So what I advise is, with all the knowledge of the programming language that you have and all that you know about them, learn what they are used for and use that as an advantage to start learning how to build automated build and release pipelines. So I'll say that is a great place to start. Start by learning how to automate the deployment of these codes, the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, React, all the languages you mentioned. And the truth is, there are loads of sample codes online you can pick out from GitHub, fork their repos, start deploying them. And the sweet part also is there are templates and sample deployment codes actually for the infrastructure that you can bootstrap to give to yourself a soft start. So if I were to be in your shoes, here is what I would do. I will start learning about CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. I'll learn things like Azure pipelines and GitHub Actions, and I'll apply that knowledge to sample projects. I'll try to implement approval and security controls into the deployments I make. And one of my favorite places to actually go when you want to think about learning to become a DevOps engineer is AzureDevOpsLabs.com. AzureDevOpsLabs.com. It contains a whole lot of templates and things you can actually do to springboard. And it contains essentially those tools and projects you need to learn. So it's basically a springboard to jumpstart your DevOps engineering career. AzureDevOpsLabs.com. It walks you through things like projects planning, management, version control, working with pull requests, configuring pipelines, implementing CI/CD test plans, package management, monitoring our performance, and it just keeps growing and giving from day to day. Now, at the back of my mind, I'm just going to say this funnily, I actually see in you an engineering manager, because you have that all-rounder knowledge of the software development ecosystem, although you are not in depth into them quite yet, but you have that potential to be an engineering manager. So I guess I'll see you up there in engineering management. Now, I hope that I actually really answered your question, although I tried to be funny a little bit in the middle, but gives you an understanding a little bit of where you can get started with learning Azure DevOps with the current skill set that you have as a product manager. And if you still have further questions, you can feel free to post them on the link showing on your screen right now or the QR code showing right about now. I'll also put those links in the video description and also a pinned comment, so be sure to check it out. And if you're new here, remember to subscribe if you're not new. Thanks for coming back. I'll see you again in another video, but remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And as I say, stay safe and goodbye.